The film opens with a tense scene inside a marriage counselor's office, where John and Jane sit across from each other, their relationship hanging by a thread. After 5 or 6 years of marriage, they've reached a soul-crushing impasse. When the counselor probes into their intimacy, a telling moment emerges. They can't even recall their last sexual encounter, a painful testament to how far apart they've drifted. Intrigued, the counselor suggests they revisit the beginning of their relationship. Suddenly, the scene dissolves into a vibrant flashback set in the colorful landscapes of Colombia. Here, John and Jane first cross paths under remarkably unexpected circumstances. Forced to play a convincing couple to evade police suspicion, they're actually complete strangers. John confidently introduces himself as a construction manager, while Jane describes her work as a technical support consultant. Yet, something beneath the surface hints that both are masterful at concealing their true identities. As the night progresses, their initial pretense transforms into genuine connection. They share a dreamlike evening, their chemistry palpable and electric. The next morning, Jane awakens to find John's side of the bed empty. But her momentary concern quickly dissolves when she discovers him preparing breakfast, a gesture that speaks volumes about their budding emotional intimacy. Their connection deepens further at a shooting range, where an unexpected dynamic unfolds. Initially appearing inexperienced, Jane reveals herself to be a remarkably skilled shooter after watching John's precise marksmanship, though the origin of her expertise remains a tantalizing mystery. During a boxing training session, John even admits to proposing marriage. Parallelly, while rock climbing with her friend Jasmine, Jane gushes about her perfect boyfriend, describing John as an exceptional contractor. Fast forward 6 years, and their once passionate relationship has deteriorated into a monotonous routine. Conversations are brief and strained, communication reduced to mere functional exchanges. Their daily life follows a predictable pattern. Both working, Jane returning home earlier to prepare dinner, their domestic preferences perpetually misaligned. John's culinary critiques become a source of tension. Jane's cooking, consistently underseasoned, forces him to add salt, a small but symbolic representation of their growing disconnection. Their home, once a sanctuary of love, now feels like a battleground of unspoken frustrations. One day, John breaks the silence by visiting the marriage counselor alone, revealing a complex emotional landscape. He confesses a love that coexists with an inexplicable frustration sometimes. He simply can't tolerate Jane. Simultaneously, Jane harbors her own perspective, believing their marriage is nothing more than a carefully constructed facade, a relationship existing only in appearances. Their carefully guarded secrets are about to unravel, exposing a shocking truth. Both John and Jane are elite professional agents working for competing intelligence agencies. They're not just ordinary professionals, they're the absolute best in their respective fields. Their combat skills are so refined that missing a target is practically unimaginable. As the Smiths, they've mastered the art of maintaining a perfect suburban illusion. Their social calendar is meticulously curated, filled with gatherings and parties among wealthy neighbors, all designed to reinforce their seemingly ordinary life. Even in their most private moments, their communication has been reduced to minimal exchanges, romantic passion replaced by calculated efficiency. Their home becomes a sophisticated arsenal, with advanced weapons and high-tech gadgets strategically hidden in separate safe locations, each unaware of the other's clandestine cache. John's cover is an engineering company management position, a clever front that masks his covert operations. Soon, separate missions beckon. John receives orders to eliminate a target nicknamed the Tank, a prisoner in transit. Simultaneously, Jane is tasked with terminating someone named Benjamin. Her mission leads her to a desolate desert landscape, where she meticulously plants explosives along her target's anticipated route. Just as Jane prepares to execute her plan, John unexpectedly arrives in his jeep, disrupting her carefully orchestrated mission. Initially unrecognizable, Jane perceives him as a random civilian. However, a tense moment reveals they might be pursuing the same objective. When she realizes he's armed, Jane doesn't hesitate. She fires, forcing John to rely on his bulletproof vest for survival. As the target approaches the designated field, the tension escalates. John spots Jane and unleashes a barrage of fire at her hideout using an improvised weapon. In the chaos, their primary target slips away, completely vanishing from their carefully planned mission. Later, John meets his friend Eddie at a restaurant, frustration etched on his face. He reveals how a mysterious woman completely derailed his mission, with only a laptop serving as a potential lead to track her down. Meanwhile, Jane, slightly injured from the explosion, demands access to incident videos, her anger palpable. A chilling phone call from her company's head adds immediate pressure. She must locate and eliminate the target within 48 hours. John takes the laptop to a trusted friend for investigation. Digging through its memory, he uncovers an address in New York. Upon arriving, he discovers a highly secure building with impenetrable security. As he strategizes a potential entry point, he stumbles upon Jane's name. She works in this very building. The pieces start connecting, and he suspects the desert attacker might indeed be Jane. Simultaneously, Jane analyzes the incident videos, identifying behavioral patterns that confirm her growing suspicion. The attacker is none other than John. Their professional and personal worlds are about to collide in spectacular fashion. Returning home, an atmosphere of mutual suspicion envelops the Smiths. They exchange carefully crafted questions about their workdays, each hiding critical information. Underlying their seemingly casual conversation is a terrifying possibility that the other might be planning an assassination. John's paranoia reaches new heights. He cautiously eats his favorite boiled meat, wondering if Jane might have poisoned it. In a calculated move, he pours her a drink, then deliberately drops the bottle. Jane's reaction is telling. She pauses, then lets it go, revealing her own murderous intentions. Under the pretext of cleaning the floor, they prepare to attack each other. John readies himself, but Jane outmaneuvers him by fleeing in her car. An intense chase ensues, with Jane attempting to run John over. In a remarkable display of skill, John manages to jump into her vehicle, transforming their marital conflict into a high-stakes pursuit. In a daring move, Jane throws herself out of the moving vehicle, leaving John to experience a catastrophic car crash with an apparently driverless car. Desperate and shaken, John seeks out his friend Eddie, pouring out the entire complicated scenario. He confesses his complete loss of trust in Jane, his words dripping with a mixture of betrayal and disbelief. Eddie, however, offers a more nuanced perspective. He warns John that Jane might be listening to their conversation, gathering information, and potentially manipulating the situation from the shadows. Parallel to John's confession, Jane meets with her friend Jasmine. The conversation takes a dark turn as Jasmine ruthlessly convinces Jane that she never truly loved John and that he deserves whatever is coming to him. The friendship serves as a catalyst, pushing Jane further towards a potential deadly confrontation. Eddie's suspicions reach a fever pitch. He believes Jane is deliberately eavesdropping, subtly inciting John against her, hoping he'll make the first fatal move. Each of them, John and Jane, is consumed by a haunting question. How could their partner of 6 years suddenly want to end their life? The next morning, driven by fear and anticipation of John's next move, Jane and her colleagues meticulously search their home for any clue about his whereabouts. A moment of unexpected vulnerability emerges when they review their wedding videotape, causing Jane to halt the investigation, a fleeting glimpse of their past love breaking through the current tension. John returns home to a shocking discovery. All of his weapon equipment has vanished. Nervousness transforms into calculated rage. He formulates a bold plan to attack Jane's workplace, a move designed to catch her completely off guard. Jane, somehow anticipating the attack, immediately orders an emergency evacuation. Her colleagues scramble, grabbing advanced equipment as they hastily exit the building. In a dramatic climax, John begins shooting, but Jane manages to escape at the last possible moment, their deadly game of cat and mouse continuing. Amidst the destroyed equipment, John searches for any remaining clues. Eddie persistently urges him to eliminate Jane, reminding him of their shared history of contract killings for security agencies. Eddie firmly believes their home is no longer a safe haven for John. John discovers a potential location and launches an attack. Entering the building, he attempts to use the elevator, only to realize Jane is several steps ahead. She's already disabled the elevator and issues a chilling warning: leave the city immediately, or she'll detonate the elevator. In a defiant move, John challenges her to follow through. When Jane hesitates, one of her colleagues takes decisive action, triggering the elevator's destruction. The elevator plummets 70 floors in a catastrophic fall. Jane emerges from a secret car, her expression revealing a complex mixture of emotions. Despite appearing devastated, it becomes clear that John is far more resourceful than anticipated. In a hotel room, Jane mourns what she believes is John's death. Suddenly, John materializes, declaring his intention to divorce her. Their encounter quickly devolves into mutual threats, which bizarrely transitions into a dance. While dancing, they begin disarming each other, exchanging accusations about their relationship being nothing more than a professional cover. Jane's true intentions emerge when she attempts to escape with explosives, even planting a bomb on John's jacket. Quick thinking, John discovers and discards the coat before it detonates, then pursues her. During a phone call, they share a surprisingly tender moment. John admits he first saw her as a beautiful Christmas morning, while Jane confesses she thought he was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Returning home simultaneously, their usual domestic tensions resurface. Jane locks all doors, preventing John's typical early departure. John maintains a facade of normalcy for their neighbors while strategizing his entry through an upstairs room. Jane stands armed and ready, with John quickly retrieving a hidden weapon. What follows is an intense, destructive confrontation confrontation incessant gunfire that gradually dismantles their home. Their shooting match evolves into a brutal physical fight, with both inflicting severe injuries on each other. After their grueling, destructive battle, John and Jane find themselves in a tense standoff, guns pointed directly at each other. Yet despite their verbal threats and apparent desire to kill, neither can pull the trigger. Their deep-rooted love ultimately overpowers their professional animosity. In a passionate reversal, they rekindle their emotional connection, surrendering to the intimate moments they've been suppressing. Their romantic reunion, however, is abruptly interrupted by noisy neighbors who alert the police due to the tremendous commotion from their fight. They quickly fabricate a convincing explanation, making their decimated home appear surprisingly normal. During their meal, they begin revealing long-hidden secrets about their professional lives, unaware that they're being carefully monitored by their respective agencies. Suddenly, an attack erupts. The Smiths, drawing upon their extensive training, hastily escape to the basement and arm themselves with previously concealed weapons. Their attackers quickly locate them, lobbing a grenade into their refuge. John's quick thinking saves them. He repositions the grenade near a fuel tank, triggering an enormous explosion that completely obliterates their house. Surviving the massive blast, John and Jane swiftly commandeer their neighbor's van, eliminating the final attacker before hitting the road. They suspect their respective companies are attempting to eliminate them, transforming their marital conflict into a high-stakes survival mission. During their escape, they continue their complex dance of revelation and confrontation. John admits to a previous marriage, which infuriates Jane and prompts her to seek retribution. They critique each other's combat strategies while simultaneously working together to survive. Facing two pursuing vehicles, they engage in an intense chase. Jane ultimately demonstrates her exceptional skills by destroying both remaining cars in a spectacular, almost impossible maneuver. The Smiths seek out Eddie, desperate to understand their precarious situation. Eddie reveals a grim reality. Their respective agencies have deliberately targeted them, intending to destroy their unconventional marriage. He warns them of a stark choice: separate and potentially survive, or remain together and face certain death unless they can prove their value to their agencies. Faced with this ultimatum, Mr. and Mrs. Smith devise a bold plan: kidnap Benjamin, an imprisoned criminal, and use him as leverage against their employers. John's approach immediately diverges from Jane's meticulously planned strategy. He chooses to act independently, causing Jane significant concern. Despite the deviation, John successfully kidnaps Benjamin. At a motel, they intensely interrogate Benjamin, who reveals a shocking truth. Both companies discovered their marriage and jointly hired him to drive a wedge between them. Their union threatens the agency's interests, and Benjamin is merely bait in an elaborate trap designed to force them to eliminate each other. A tracker discovered on John's belt signals immediate danger. With barely a minute to spare, they vanish, seeking refuge in the city's sewers, while attackers hunt them down. Jane proposes an escape plan involving a hidden boat that could take them out of the country. John, however, argues for a different approach, standing their ground and permanently neutralizing the threat. They take refuge in a home decoration store, arming themselves for what they know might be their final confrontation. Their last stand becomes a testament to their love and commitment, fighting side by side despite numerous injuries. In an intense, sacrificial battle, they systematically defeat their enemies, eliminating every attacker. Their teamwork and mutual protection prove more powerful than the agency's calculated destruction. Triumphantly, they return to their marriage counselor, reporting that everything is now well. Their plan: rebuild their house and their life together stronger than ever.